Breaking news, President Trump is in a battle for the White House and receiving almost no help from rhinos in his party. Congressman Adam Kinzinger says it's silly to suggest the FBI rigged the election. It didn't, he says. And Rhino Congressman Denver Riggleman of Virginia suggested 74 million Trump supporters are the manic fringes of the country. You know, he must be confused about which party Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the violent rioters of the summer belong to. Joining us now, Congressman Matt Gaetz, member of the House Judiciary and Armed Services Committees, and no rhino he, but great American. Matt, good to have you with us. Your thoughts about where in the hell are the Republicans when we've got a battle for the White House underway, and it's pretty obvious this election was rigged?
I do have Republican colleagues who believe that we ought to just ignore the irregularities in voter registration, that we should turn a blind eye to ballot harvesting. And when you can't account the number of ballots cast against the number of people in a precinct, well, we should just accept that that's the new normal. I reject that entirely. President Trump has an obligation to the country, to his supporters, and to the movement that he has built to ensure that we count the legal votes and reject the illegal ones. And you asked the right question. What should Republicans be doing now? First, we should be encouraging state legislators who have the power to launch the investigations, to put a pause on certification, to in fact fulfill their constitutional duty. Second, we have to keep calling out the FBI and the Department of Justice. Lou, I have to correct one element of your last segment with Tom Fitton, a great American. You say, oh, well, these people resigned. They didn't resign. They were just reshuffled to other parts of the Department of Justice. And it seems to be when people don't do their job or when they are misguided at the Department of Justice, they just sort of end up in an additional role. And maybe Sidney Powell had the right approach with fire hoses and Clorox, but we certainly know that we have not seen an active DOJ interested in protecting the civil rights of Americans who want to have their legal votes not diluted by illegal votes. And we had a red wave and everywhere in this country, Lou, but in 3 cities, in Philadelphia, in Atlanta, and in Detroit. Everywhere else, Donald Trump had an overwhelming victory. Milwaukee, yeah, that's correct.
Absolutely. And as we went through this, to see the president's wide margin of victory everywhere, but in those 4 Democrat-run cities, the ridiculous margin of victory for Biden. They also all experienced the 1:30 a.m. Halt in counting. And questionable batches of questionable hell, outrageously fraudulent batches of votes being dumped into, in each case,
well, let me speak to those
batches.
Let me speak to those batches for a moment, Lou, because there are circumstances where in the middle of the night, tens of thousands of ballots were appearing in states like Michigan, where Joe Biden was getting a higher percentage of the vote than Bashar al-Assad and Kim Jong-il in their elections. Now, you either have to believe that Joe Biden was infinitely more inspiring than Barack Obama in those places and infinitely more able to control the electorate than dictators, or there was obvious funny business going on there. And it's very hard to catch after the fact. That's why we needed to be doing more on the front end to prevent this fraud. But if we accept this universal mail-out balloting to people who didn't even request ballots, I don't think Republicans will ever win another national election again. That's why we have to stand and fight now.
And I'd like to see some sign of it. I really would. I'm sitting here watching a president as usual, with some notable exceptions, and you among them, standing up and fighting for an apathetic American electorate. This is a time to understand. When you have voting machines that no one understands, no one knows who owns them, they don't know how they operate, they don't know the algorithms, and they're proprietary, these little darlings, and they end up with servers in foreign countries. We're the biggest damn fools in the world to put up with this crap. And I don't understand why you don't say, everyone doesn't say, not you, everyone doesn't say, this is madness, and we've got to stop it here. And by God, this is important enough to do a revote. Let's do a damn revote. What do
Well,
you
there
think?
has to be an accounting of the ballots cast to the registered voters. Otherwise, we didn't have the first real vote because the first vote was polluted by illegal ballots. And in the state of Georgia, I am grateful that the brilliant Sidney Powell has created a legal path. The order that is in place right now is an injunction to preserve evidence. The only reason a court typically does that is because they want to have an evidentiary hearing. So we need to get on with it. We need to make sure we have that evidentiary hearing and we get to that Dominion software.
I don't know what you do with a government whose Justice Department doesn't work for the people. Its FBI doesn't work for the people. They're corrupt, they're crooked, and the deep state is committed to everything this country stands against. And we don't know why, but the left in this country is more aligned with communist China than it is with the Republican Party. That's odd, don't you think? And isn't it time we made damn sure things got back on track in this country?
No, I think you're right, but you have to evaluate this context. When Donald Trump was president, we had a Department of Justice and an FBI that tried to frame him, prosecute his son, and go after elements of his government. You can only imagine how devastating these people will be to our nation if they are given unbridled control in a potential Biden government where they will hunt conservatives for sport. That is the real risk here. They're not active now, but you better believe they would be active under a Biden government coming after the people that are fighting for an honest election and a president elected fairly.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, always good to have you here. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
This is Congressman Matt Gaetz. If you liked that video, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and join us on our daily podcast, Hot Takes with Matt Gaetz, on your favorite podcast listening platform.